بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Go. Hadith number 49. عن أنس رضي الله عنه.
عن أنس رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. متفق عليه.
All right. Hadith number 50. You got it? أنت ما حفظت الحديث.
أنا سمعت إنه كان قصير جدا بس أنا ما سمعته سوا.
My son's a loser.
أنا كنت أقول
He's good in the chat room, but he's not good memorizing hadith.
أنا كنت أقول
All right, hadith number 50. Whosoever sees disobedience, and of course this is now we're going into like different hadith dealing with al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. All right, so whoever sees disobedience, so this is so al-amr bil ma'ruf obviously is commanding the good, and nahy anil munkar is to forbid the evil, forbid anything that's disobedience to Allah. عن أبي سعيد الخضري رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيره بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان رواه مسلم. So this hadith is reported on the authority of Abi Sa'id al-Khudri رضي الله عنه. Wish to shoot.
واحد فتح الباب وأنا اللي يشيلهم بيقلبوه.
من فتحه؟
هذا أبناء فاطمة.
Oh, طيب خلاص. He said that he heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, whoever from amongst you sees munkar, and munkar is anything, any sin, anything that is disobedience to Allah. So munkar, anything that is disobedience to Allah. فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ, then he should change it with his hands. And this is for who?
Wali.
It's for any the wali al-amr, whether it's the wali al-amr of a balad or the parent.
Muslim police.
The police, whatever authority they've been given. And they might not have been given the authority to change things with their hands, but based on the situation. If the wali al-amr of the city or the country has given them that authority, then khalas. Otherwise, then they can only act within the authority that's been given to them. But as far as the parent is a wali al-amr of the child. He's the person of authority over the child. So he has the authority to change things with his hands. If he gives, like, for example, his kid a phone or a tablet and the kid starts using it for something that's not permissible, then the parent has the authority to change that with his hands, to take back the phone and keep it away from the kid until he can, use it for what, something that's beneficial and not what's going to cause his destruction. Or anything else. If the child is acting up, the parent has within his means to act according to the situation, to act in response and according to the situation with wisdom. All right, so also people in authority, anybody of that nature. So they have the ability to change with their hands, but us, we don't have the ability to change with our hands. Like, we can't just go out and become like Crime Stoppers. All right, but we have the right to what?
Hate it.
I know we have the right to defend our lives and our properties and our wealth and our families and the people around us. So if somebody comes and transgresses against our property and we have no other means but to, deal with the situation with our hands, then that is within our means of doing it, because we're defending our life, our property, our wealth, our families. Like the situation that happened out here where where we have a brother from the community running around saying that's uncalled for when that thief got beaten up. We're defending the property of the Muslims, and that we're not going out chasing him down and dragging him out of his house. We caught him on sight stealing, and he got disciplined. Walillahil alhamd. So you're defending the property of the Muslims.
More than just steal.
More than just steal. I mean, he did a lot more than steal, but he got what he got. So the point is like, that's a different issue. But now we're not going to go around and become like, the police of the neighborhood doing crime stopping. But no, we will stand up and we will defend our property and defend the rights and defend the property of the Muslims in the masjid. All right, so that way the Muslims come to this masjid and they can feel comfortable. He said, فَأَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. And for the people that don't have that authority to change with their hands, but they have knowledge and they can advise the people and warn the people and to stay away from this type of munkar, like the ulama the students of knowledge, the people that have knowledge of these types of issues, then it's upon them to speak up, to talk about these issues and not to remain silent. Because by remaining silent when there's munkar going on, that's doing a disservice to the people. But that doesn't mean that, like, for example, and we talked about this before, when giving dawah in the West, it's nothing but munkar. So you can't sit here and just think like, okay, I'm going to do, the nahy and munkar, that's all you're going to be doing all day long because everybody's making mistakes. But in this type of scenario, you need to start with the most important, the biggest munkar, and then work your way down. Because if you start to just do inkar on everything, that's all you're going to be doing. And the people are going to sit there and say, oh, well, what is halal? And this is a common thing that the people say because everything that they're doing is basically falling into some form of haram. All their enjoyment and all the, the procedures of them buying their house, buying their car, saving their money, it all falls into haram. Them sending their kids to these public schools, it falls into haram. Sending their kids to these public universities falls into haram. So, I mean, this is all their lives. Then they want to go out and they want to have fun. And the places that they want to go have fun at, what? So in this type of scenario, we got to look at the most important issues, the biggest things that are affecting the people. And we need to start changing those, advising the people to change those things first and educating the Muslims. And then working to the lesser, the lesser munkar. We'll start with the bigger things and start getting the people away from those. And then you'll start to see, once the people start to get educated about Islam and the understanding of Islam, they'll start to leave off a lot of those smaller things. And even the bigger things, they'll start to leave them off on their own. So like, for example, if you got a community that everybody listens to music, everybody watches TV, and everybody smokes weed, what are we going to start? We'll start with first.
You said everyone listens to music? You said?
Everybody listens to music, everybody watches movies, and everybody smokes weed. No.
Out of those three? Or
Out of those three. What are we going to start with first?
No, music.
Start with music? No.
Music, because music promotes all of that. The movies?
Wrong again.
I give all three answers.
I know. The answer is D, none of the above.
Oh. I know. I said out of those three.
If everybody in the community is watching movies, and everybody in the community is listening to music, and everybody in the community is smoking weed, so what's the problem?
Their understanding of
Tawheed. Because if they really truly understood Tawheed, and we talked about this before, just like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned in the Majmu' al-Fatawa, he said, how could a person disobey Allah if he understands Tawheed? If he truly, truly understands La ilaha illallah, how could he disobey Allah? So the fact that disobedience is a part of their day-to-day life, what does that show you? They're not being educated properly in Tawheed. So that's where you need to place your focus. That's where everybody in it. But is this where the focus is being placed?
No.
Absolutely not. The focus is being placed on these things. Stop smoking weed. Stop listening to music. Stop watching movies. Stop hanging out with the kuffar. And yeah, we talk about these things. But the focus is to get the people to return to the Quran and the Sunnah, to understand the Quran and the Sunnah, and build a love for those things. So once they have a love for Tawheed, love for Quran, love for the Sunnah, then you start to see a change take place all throughout the community. And those types of things, you might never have to focus on them. The people will start to leave them on their own. But we can't put these focuses on these issues that are like on the atraf. We need to go straight to the what? The core issue, which is always Tawheed, which is the education of the Muslim. And then, like I said, go to any masjid right now, sit in any lessons, and see what you're going to learn about Tawheed. Yo, that's your family. Go open the door. What you want, us to go open the door for your family? Hey, come on, man. You got to go.
Oh, they're waiting. Go.
I can't open the door.
I said, روح معه. روح معه ساعده أن يفتح الباب. ساعده. أنت تقدر. Go. Man, just go. Just open the door and run. All right. So then after that, he said, فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. All right, so that's for the people of knowledge. And anybody that has knowledge. It doesn't mean that you have to be an alim to make inkar on the munkar. But you have to be an alim. You have to have knowledge about the issue that you're making inkar on. So if you are very, very well versed in all the evidence to show that listening to music is haram and you understand this issue, you might not be the fuqaha from the fuqaha of the balad, you might not be from the muhaddithin, but you understand this issue and you know that it's haram, so you make inkar on this munkar. You know, you should not remain silent and you know that this is haram. And you know, and any other thing. But like I said, don't get into the point of just like constantly making inkar, because again, we took the hadith previously, which is what? The Prophet ﷺ said, Bashiru wash wala tunaffiru. So you have to like mix your inkar also with what? Some type of, tabshir, you know, bushra linnas. You can't just constantly say you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, because sooner or later what's going to happen? The people are not going to listen to you no more. And then when they see you, they're going to do like they do with him, right?
Oh, yeah.
No.
And they just like, you know, he comes and then they just disperse and leave. ايش؟
هل انت شريت من هذا؟
What?
هل انت شريت من هذا؟
اشتريت من ايش؟
هل شريت من هذا؟
من ايش؟
هل شريت من هذا؟
شربت. Did you drink?
لا هذا عقل. لا هذا مش عقل.
No, I started smiling when you said you don't have to be from the fuqaha of the balad. Because I had a family member, he said, you can't give da'wah because you're not mufti mink.
Mufti Mink ain't from no fuqaha al-balad aslan. Allah musta'an. If you were Mufti Mink, you couldn't give da'wah. You would not be allowed to give. You had to keep your mouth shut. Allah musta'an. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِيعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ. For everybody else that doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't have the authority, then it's an obligation upon you to hate it with your heart. It is not permissible for you to love kufr, love disobedience to Allah with your heart. You know, and this is something that we need to... Did y'all open the door?
Yeah.
All right, so this is like something that people need to focus on. This is not a small issue. All right, listening to music, disobedience to Allah. You still carrying that love for that stuff in your heart? That's disobedience to Allah. You have to, it is incumbent, it's wajib upon you to hate this. Anything that's disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at the very, very, very least is to what? To hate it. As we're going to see in the next hadith, which is going to be even more stronger, inshallah, but we'll take that tomorrow. Yeah.
I was on there. Like 10 times.
That's going to be a lot stronger. But he said, وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. So this is the weakest of all iman, is to hate something with your heart. But that's the last of the obligations. If you cannot change things with your hands, which is an obligation for the people to have the chance, the opportunity to do that, then you go to the tongue. If you can't change it with your tongue, then you go to the heart. But there's nothing after that. وَلَحَبَّةُ الْخَرَدَلِ. Even a grain seed of iman after that. So that means if you still have this love for disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it's holding on to this, you know, love for the kuffar, love for the music, love for the culture, love for any of this type of stuff. You have to get that stuff out of your heart. You have to, because that is a sickness. And that is, you can't, you know, because your heart cannot carry around love for obedience to Allah and love for disobedience to Allah. As long as you have that love for disobedience and then the actual ability to obey Allah is going to be way more difficult, if not impossible, for the person to do. So you have to get that stuff out of your heart. You have to understand why it's haram and accept that it's haram. And if you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger more than you love these kuffar, then khalas. Then it shouldn't be an issue of you getting that stuff out of your heart. وإلهنا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.